All right, so welcome to the setup that I used today. Pretty straightforward. If you've used a DL32, then you'll be familiar with this mixer. Let me just focus in. So that's the Mackie DL32S. Um, and obviously, as a studio interface, it's overkill, but I absolutely love this thing. So long story short, you've got the mixer. You can see I've got the USB cable coming out, and that's going across into a very old um, MacBook Pro. That's a 2012 MacBook Pro running Reason 8, which is a very old version of Reason. Um, but Reason, I think it was 7.5 that got the SSL mixer, and then 8 sort of had all the nice cool features. So I decided to wait to purchase 8, and then I picked up 8 as soon as I got the opportunity. So Reason 8, as soon as it came out, picked it up, and then obviously next to that I've got a little tablet, running Master Fader 5 point something. I can't remember what it is. So here's the setup from the Mackie. From the Mackie, I'm outputting a few different channels here. So you'll see the first output is 1 and 2, which is a stereo output into one of those PreSonus HP2s. I think they're called HP2s. Yeah, HP2s. So that's 1 and 2, and then 7 and 8 as well is going into the PreSonus, the other PreSonus HP2. So those are stereo body packs, and I'm running them into so they're running off electrical power. So the HP2s 7 and 8 is what's carrying the mix that's going out to the stream. And if you watch the previous videos, I've shown you how I route that. I go into the routing page on Master Fader, and then I go into output. Into USB. See if I can. Yeah, so I go into USB, and I send aux 7 and 8. You have to scroll down quite a bit. So I send aux 7 and 8, 7 into USB 1, 8 into USB 2. So this particular port on the Mackie, this particular USB port on the Mackie, let me zoom in on it. Just so, because I've spoken about it in theory a lot, but I have never had the opportunity to actually zoom in on it whilst I'm actually speaking. So that particular USB port there, the one we're looking at, data going between the laptop and that particular USB. So I'm just going to come in here and lower my highs. I don't need that. I was singing earlier on, so I no longer need them. Right. So that particular USB cable here, this particular one here, this is running data out of USB 1 and 2, and that's both ways. So USB 1 and 2 going out, USB 1 and 2 going in, and you can send multiple items across that USB cable. It's not one way, and it doesn't have to be one thing going through. It can be multiple things going to different programs on your laptop. Okay, so you could have OBS opened up and have something from USB coming down USB 1 and 2 from the mixer into OBS, and then you can have something coming through into, you go into the actual applications and then you pick what you want, and then if you want something from, you can send it across. It's not one of those things where it's one way, or it's a conduit where you can send multiple bits of data backwards and forwards at the same time simultaneously. So that's how we achieve that. If you can think sort of in that mind frame, then you'll be able to go with that or achieve that sort of goal. So don't limit yourself. So yeah, so out of that USB port into the laptop, and then within reason, I create a track. Okay, so I create a track. Let's bring this up here. See if we can get this camera in a bit closer. All right, so this laptop is an old laptop, as I said. It doesn't actually have an HDMI output. Otherwise, I'd have just shown you what I do within Reason via HDMI output, but it doesn't. So, okay, that's not working. That's fine. But lo and behold, within my DAW, I create a track. If you do use a DAW, you all know how to create tracks within your DAW. So I'll create a track within the actual DAW, and then I will tell the DAW or DAW, I'm using Reason, I'll tell Reason, okay, that track, I want you to receive audio from whatever channel I'm outputting from. So in this case today, I'm outputting from channel 17. So as you can see, this microphone here that I'm holding, it's hooked up to channel 17. So I'll tell my DAW, receive your audio from channel 17, and the DAW will be like, perfectly fine, send whatever you're sending through. Once it's running through, Reason will pick it up. I'll be able to see that the green meter, the volume meter, is running. I'll then say to my DAW, I'll say to Reason, can you output whatever I'm receiving on channel 17 back through on, and I'll pick a USB channel. In this case, I've picked channel, let's go to the Mackie. Yeah, so in this case, I've said, can you output it back on channel 9, USB 9? Okay, so you'll see USB 9, that's actually channel 9. So I've said USB 9, and then I'll go into the routing here, and I'll route on input A, I will route USB 9 to channel 9. Okay, so I've got channel 17 here, just slightly out of focus. Out of this mic is hooked up to channel 17. Then out of the USB, I've got channel 17 going into Reason. Okay. Then into Reason, I create a track and say, for this track, receive your audio from channel 17 on the USB cable. Reason is like, no problem at all. Then I also say to Reason, by the way, that audio you're receiving from channel 17 on this track, send that audio back out via USB 9. Reason will send it out via USB 9. I then come back into Master Fader. I go into the routing and say, okay, whatever you're receiving on USB 9, send it to channel 9. So it sends USB 9 into channel 9. And then when I come to channel 9, I can see my fader bouncing. So I have channel 17 here, which I can turn up, and you'll hear a difference when I turn it up. Okay, that's got audio coming in, but I've turned that down. And then channel 9 has got audio coming into it, okay? And that audio I've turned up. So this is what you can hear me. This is how you're hearing me through this. Now the cool thing about this is this then. Within Reason, if I want to add any effects or add anything onto channel 9 within Reason, I can do that. So I'll add all the processing X, Y, and Z. All this laptop is doing, I'm just focusing on the laptop. All the laptop is doing is it's processing, it's running Reason. That's all it's doing. So this is how I can use my DAW to mix multiple channels through the DAW on one laptop, and also have the ability to also do a mix within Master Fader as well. So I can add effects, I can add reverb, I can do whatever on this channel within Reason. Okay, so for example, I'll just quickly show you. So go into Reason, find channel 9, and I'll open up channel 9, then I'll say effects, and I'll throw some reverb on it. There you go, Reason has I've thrown some reverb on there, and I can control the actual parameters of the reverb within Reason, okay? And you'll hear the effects there. Then I can say on Reason, okay, bypass the reverb I've just added, keep it on the channel. You'll see this little bar here, this blue, navy blue or whatever, that's the purple reverb I've added. Or I can go into Master Fader, go into the effects, and I can add reverb from the actual effects in Master Fader. So I can EQ process in Reason. I can then also do DSP or process on master fader on channel 9. As long as I put all the settings on channel 9, or manipulate the settings on channel 9, because I'm sending channel 9 to the stream, then what will happen is anything I add on there, either within master fader or within Reason, will get applied to channel 9, and that'll get sent to the stream. So how I send it to the stream, I link auxes 7 and 8, but here you can see I've linked auxes 7 and 8 together. Okay, so they make a stereo pair, and all I'm doing is I'm outputting whatever's on channel 9, and I'm turning the volume up. I've turned the mains up, but because I'm routing on the USB side, I'm routing aux 7 and 8. Because I'm routing aux 7, I'm just finding it here. There we go. It's quite far down. Because I'm routing aux 7 and 8 to USB 1 and 2, what's happening is anything I send out of aux 7 and 8 on any channel on aux 7 and 8, USB 1 is aux 7, that's the left side, and USB 2 is aux 8, that's the right side. That's not something I've personally done. That's something that Mackie has done when they've built this mixer. And I believe if you buy a Behringer, it'll be the same. I believe if you buy other digital mixers, aux 1 is left and aux 2 is right. And that's how you input and output audio through the USB. So if you see this, aux 7 being left, aux 8 being right, I'm routing both aux 7 and 8 out USB. So anything I mix within the channels that are on auxes 7 and 8 together become my mix for my online stream. I can pan things if I wanted to, pan left, right. If I choose to, I can do separate EQ, gating, whatsoever. And because I also have this mic coming in on channel 17, if I was also running front of house for an actual audience that were physically in the room, I could also control my front of house from channel 17. Well, I would control my front of house, have separate EQ, have separate gating, compression settings, whatever you want on channel 17 to what I have on channel 9, completely separate, and use channel 9 to control my stream and use channel 17 to control what's going on in front of house. So essentially you've got this 32 channel mixer, and for those of that were saying, well, it's overkill to use to have bought the 32 channel mixer if this is what you wanted to use it for. No, it's not overkill, because essentially I now have two 16 channel mixers. One that I use where I don't plug anything into the top half. So channels 1 to 16, I don't plug anything in. And I plug everything into channels 17 to 32. Now, somebody's asking, well, why don't you just do it the other way? Why don't you do 1 to 16 and then don't have anything in 32 to 17 to 32? Well, 17 to 32 has combo jacks. So combo preamps. And each channel allows for either a jack or XLR because it's combo. So if I use channel 17 to 32, it just means I don't have to do this mix and match where I have some on the top and some at the bottom and da-da-da-da. I can just have everything plugged in at the bottom down here, and it's pretty clear for me. If I'm troubleshooting, I know where everything is. I don't have them all over the place, because someone was saying to me, oh, it would be nice if you could have channel 17 as the physical input, then channel 18 as the USB channel. Then you have them side by side, and it makes practical sense when you're coming to mix. Yes, I agree. But if you need more jack channels down here, you then have to go and buy DI boxes, which is ridiculous. The reason why is because Master Fader has view groups. So you don't have to kill yourself to buy, DI boxes, etc. When you could just go into the view groups and you can set up, lists of channels you want to see within the actual view groups themselves. You can also group things into the VCAs. And you can group. So, for example, you group all your effects into the VCAs, and then you can turn all your effects up and down as you please, and you can have them on post fade or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, so there's many different ways in which you can work, and there's ways in which you can uh, how do you call it? Set up this mixer to have what you want plugged in one place, and then have what you don't want in another place. You do it however you want to do it. It's not a must that you have to have top half empty for your USBs and bottom half. You may not even need all 16 channels, so it might not work out. But when I do events, if I have one keyboard, one bass, a drum kit, four or five mics, um, I can fill that 16 channels really easy. It's dead easy to fill them, which means the top channels I definitely need to have as USB. Then that way I can control all my online stuff from channels 1 to 16, and then I can control all my in-house stuff from channels 17 to 32, which is pretty cool because you can connect up to 32. I think it's up to 20 different devices, sorry, to this mixer. So it's very easy for you to hand, a tablet to somebody else and say, okay, grab this tablet, you run the online mix. And they can take the tablet, go into another room, okay, plug their headphones or whatever into a phone that has the stream on it, wherever you're streaming to, and then they can plug their headphones into one device that has the actual stream, the online stream, and then they can then they can use another tablet to link to the mixer wirelessly, and they can be in a completely separate room, mixing the online, whilst they listen to it online, and you can have the people in the actual building just focusing on mixing what's happening in the building. And obviously all the musicians and stuff can mix their own mixes through their phones and tablets and whatnot as well. So it works out really, really good in the sense that, but if you don't have a second person mixing the online and you're doing everything yourself, then you have all access, because first channels 1 to 16 are online, and channels 17 to 32 are in the building that you're in. One thing I will point out though, you don't really have channels 1 to 16 because channel 1 and 2 are being used for USB. So whatever you plug into channel 1 and 2 will give you the full mix of the left if you plug into 1, and whatever you plug into 2 will give you the full mix of the right. So really you don't have channels 1 and 2. It becomes a 30 channel mixer, okay? And you have channels 2 to 16, or however you want to split it, because you don't have to send everything online, but you can have whatever channels 2 to 16 running your online, and then you can have 17 to 32 running your front of house. So that's pretty much how I achieve this. So I've just done a session today, which I will include a link to of what we did today. It's two mics and a guitar. And I deliberately had it that way. I wanted it to be something small. I didn't want it to be something huge because I wanted to test this. And I got these guys to come in.
Great are you, Lord.
And the cool thing about this is this. So the guys today were listening to a click track which I pulled off my laptop, and the click track you will hear during the song was pulled off the laptop, and I added it into Reason, and then I sent the click track down USB 6, I believe it was. Yep, so down USB 6, and then it came into channel. I routed USB 6 into channel 6. It came into channel 6, and they all could increase and decrease. How much of the click track they wanted, how much of the other singer they wanted, how much of the guitar, was wanted. Um, and once they had a balance in their own ears and they were happy with it, we proceeded to do the actual recording. I did a test recording, played it for them live in this room. They listened to it, they loved it. So we made a few minor adjustments, and then we did the final recording, and that's what I'll be sharing in a link underneath.
Let all the other names fade away. Let all the other names fade away. Till there's only you. Let all the other names fade away. Jesus, take your place. Jesus, take your place. Let all the other names fade away. Let all the other names fade away. Till there's only you. Let all the other names fade away. Jesus, take your place. Jesus, take your place. Let all the other names fade away. Let all the other names fade away. Let all the other names fade away. Till there's only you. Let all the other names fade away. Jesus, take your place. 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 We bow down and worship Yahweh.
So that's pretty much the setup. I've spoken about this setup time and time again. Yes, it's better for you to buy the 32 channels because you'll have as many channels as needed to be able to mix your online and mix your front of house. This is a 2012 MacBook Pro. It's an i7, but from 2012, so it's a very old generation i7 from 2012. It's got 8 gig of RAM, I believe. Let me go into the system preferences. Not preferences, sorry, about this Mac. Like the specs on this laptop are dead compared to what you can buy in this day and age. They're actually not that brilliant yet. And there is zero latency in this setup. Zero latency. Everything is real time. I think it had 750 gig hard drive, but that's not that important. And it's not SSD, by the way. The hard drive is one of the old mechanical ones. Obviously, it's from 2010, and it's running version Catalina 10.15.7. So this is a really old MacBook Pro with a very old generation i7 processor from Intel, 2.9 gigahertz, running 8 gig of DDR3 RAM, and it can run this entire system. There we go. So if you're worried about latency and you're thinking, oh, what spec do I need to have the latest specification when it comes to cameras. Sorry, when it comes to my computer, the laptop I choose to use, etc. No, you don't have to have the latest specifications. You just have to have specifications that are compatible with your DAW, compatible with your, um, you know, with what you're using. Um, so what I'm trying to get at is this. Uh, I think I had Mojave before Catalina, and that was running quite smooth. But then I encountered a problem when I upgraded one thing, and then it resulted in me having to, upgrade this and upgrade that. For example, I couldn't run I couldn't run Reason 8 on the M1 chip. It's too old. Um, so I'd have to upgrade Reason. So all I'm trying to say is just if you're going to use an older DAW, make sure you look back and see which OS spec um, was compatible with that DAW, that version of DAW, and then pick that and then install that. And this is an old laptop. You can probably pick this up on eBay or whatever for like 100 quid, if that. They're not expensive. So it's not like you're going to have to dig out loads and loads of money to buy yourself a second laptop specifically to run this setup. It's not a lot of money. It's not going to be, it's not going to break the bank, so to speak. But don't try and then say, well, I'm going to get the latest M1 and then I'm going to use this. Make sure everything is compatible with each other. Otherwise, then you'll start to see problems and you'll start to see latency. The thing I'm showing you now, by the way, this is something from a company called YOLO Live or YOLO Live, and it's a streaming device. Okay, long story short, it's got 3 HDMI's at the back. So currently, one HDMI is taking this camera. I could have a second camera and a third, or I could have 2 cameras and I could have a second laptop. So 2 cameras and a laptop. And the laptop could be, this is where I could have been showing you master fader via HDMI on the laptop. But my laptop is so old, it doesn't actually have HDMI on it, which is why I couldn't just plug it in and show you what I was doing in master fader. But you can have 3 HDMI inputs. You can then have a USB-C input as well. So what people will do is they'll get one of their ATEM, 4-channel switches, plug that into the USB here, then use the cameras from there, and then use they can spare maybe 2 USBs for 2 different from computers, or something from a computer, something from a PlayStation, or whatever. Whatever you want to do with this thing, you can hook up anything to it that comes in via HDMI. And then if you hook up the USB-C and you've got one of those other ATEM, what do they call those things? ATEM encoders or whatever they're called, the 4-channel ones or the 8-channel ones, you can actually plug 4 more cameras to that, or 4 more HDMI sources into that, and switch on that device. And then obviously when you're feeding into this, you're only feeding in one at a time. So you're only adding an extra thing, but you've got the option of having multiple cameras, but you're feeding one in at a time, in addition to the 3 that are on here. Then I've got a USB at the back. I can hook up a normal USB type A. I can hook up a keyboard and a mouse, MNK as they call it. Then I've got an HDMI out, and that HDMI out is what's sending. See, that HDMI out is what's sending that video feed that you can see there on that screen. That screen belongs to the studio. So if you bring your laptop in, you can hook up the USB to the. They've got a Focusrite interface down there. Let me see if I can. I'm zooming in on the wrong thing. So they've got a Focusrite interface there, and you plug your laptop. You can plug the USB out of there into your laptop to get the audio, and then you can plug the HDMI out of there into the laptop, and then you can sort of have 2 screens either split, or you can run everything off there their little, I think that's like a 24-inch screen within this studio. So those don't belong to me. Obviously, the speakers that are here, the Yamaha, they don't belong to me either. But long story short, there's an HDMI out on this YOLO Live Pro box. I forgot what the name of the device is. I bought it a year ago, literally, and I've barely used it thus far. But it'll be used a lot more now. So yeah, HDMI out as well, so you can watch everything on the big screen. You don't have to look at this small screen, but you do have to control everything from the screen. It is touchscreen. So you can do things like adding lower thirds. You can I probably best shoot it at this so you can see what I'm actually doing. Yeah, so you can do things like, create and add little borders like that. You can, add little countdowns. Create little, subscribe to my channel type messages. If I did that, you still won't be able to probably see it, but it's down in the left-hand corner. And you can add all sorts of stuff to this, and you create this stuff on the actual device, or you can hook it up to. You can put in an SD card that has video on it, and you can play the video directly from the SD card, and it'll send it out to your stream. It'll send it out to your to the actual building as well, if you wanted to, because it's via HDMI, so it can do that. Let me just focus this in. So that's an SD card in there, and you can store whatever you want on the SD card, and you can use the functions on here to recall the videos or the pictures or whatever from the SD card and play them straight from there. Let me take off this Dr. Rebecca thing. Don't need that on there. Yeah, so you can play them directly. You can also how do you call it? You can, it's also got the ability to put in a SIM card. So if you stick a SIM card in, you can get your data that way. So if you wanted to stream in a place where that doesn't have Wi-Fi, and you've got a SIM card that has network to it, you can stream from your SIM card and go online that way. It's got a mic in and a line in input, but it's also got a headphone output. Then this is for power. Then I think there's something else back here. Okay, my next artist has arrived, so I'll catch you guys in a bit.